Okay, hello everyone. Luke Ratz here. Another live video. I'm again making double documentation. I'm making it on one camera and one camera in my tablet. So that's another episode of another part of the series, the snapshot of the mind. That's a series of interviews which I'm making with myself. I'm asking myself questions which are generated by recently by some chatbots, basically. Last time I used ChatGPT. This time I switched to Cloud as ChatGPT started generating more postmodern type questions, which were not the best quality. They were not making sense at all for me. So I switched to clouds, and again, as I want to surprise myself, I asked Cloud to generate that questions, but I was not reading them later, so I don't know. Maybe that questions doesn't have any sense at all, but anyway, I'll answer them as I just want to have a little bit of fun today. So I'm just provoking myself to speak about stuff which interests me the most, which is art, which is mind, brain, consciousness, science, whatever. I would not consider myself expert in that field, although I am focused on that. That's my, let's say, special interests. Yeah, those are my special interests. Whatever. I am mainly crazy artist, and let's stay with that label, as it's the most accurate label, I would say. Which I like. As an anarchist, I like label of a crazy artist. So I asked Cloud to generate 200 questions, and I described my practice as an artist, and this is what we get from Cloud. When you call your work representationalism, what exactly do you believe is being represented? A feeling, thought, a neural event, or something that has no name yet? Cloud, that's a very good question. So, in a general term, representation I would define as a mental image, thought, which is not very precise, but everything you imagine, so that's visual thinkers simply see pictures in their mind, and I am that kind of visual thinker. So I'm trying to document my imagination, and basically I always wanted to be an abstract sculptor, make abstract sculptures, although being a sculptor, it's simply very difficult when you are not very wealthy. If you are an outsider, when you are simply on the margins. uh, in order to be a sculptor, you should have at least studio and some money to and time to simply invest in materials, and to produce or all that objects which you would want to make. So my practice switched from, I mean, I never actually practiced sculpture, but I always imagined that that would be the best profession for me. So because it was always like economically impossible or improbable, for me, I decided that I will be only making designs of the sculptures. So I started documenting like my imagination, and simply making a design of sculptures, and that's why I'm calling it a representationalism, because those are mental representations. So mental representations, how I understand mental representations in a more specific way, a more precise way, it's simply some brain event, and it's probably just some it's probably some neural circuits which are firing in some very specific patterns, exchanging messages, electrical signals, and chemical and electrical signals in my brain, and that I subjectively perceive as a mental image. I believe that it's the case with all human thoughts, that basically it's a brain activity which we are interpreting as a thoughts or mental images and feelings. So there's nothing else in that. All your memories are made out of brain circuits in hippocampus, in your frontal lobe. All is determined by communication of the parts of your brain. So wiring of your brain is extremely important in shaping that mental representations. For example, we can tell a story about Temple Grandin, and that famous autistic lady who basically she's writing books about autism and visual thinking, and she in one of her books she showed her brain scans, and her brain scans clearly showed that she has like a very strong connection between back of the brain, occipital lobe and frontal lobe. So basically her communication of like and occipital lobe is basically responsible for all visual representations in your brain. So in Temple Grandin case, that communication between occipital lobe and frontal lobe was like is extremely strong. So that's why connections in the brain matters a lot, because they are shaping your mental representations to some extent. Probably it's I believe that your life experience is influencing a lot how that mental representations are changing. And the question is to what extent you can influence that mental representations. I believe that you can develop imagination and mental representation to a quite huge degree. Why I think that? There were stories of told by Oliver Sacks in one of his books. I believe that it was in Hallucinations, but basically the book was had title Hallucinations, but I'm not sure about it. But basically, he described a case of a gentleman who lost his sight when he was an adult after seeing for many years, and he always had like strong visual like imagination and so on. But basically, after he lost his sight, he started navigating in reality without vision. And basically, how he described his experiences was that he could imagine what he is doing in reality, in three-dimensional space. And because of that, he was able to very smoothly navigate in reality, and he was able to make complex tasks because as he was describing, he could imagine very precisely what he's doing in a three-dimensional way. And of course, the fact that he lost his sight forced him to use that imagination more, and because of that his imagination was probably greater than average person. So basically the nature of representation, mental representation in the brain is not fully known, because like neuroscience of course is describing like activity in particular regions of the brain, and you can very precisely specify which parts of the brain are firing up, which parts of the brain are using more oxygen during that process of imagining stuff. As far as I remember, it was like, for example, for faces, it's in the left occipital lobe on the back, somewhere like here, here, as far as I remember. Anyway, you've got very specific brain regions which are active during the process of like imagining faces or recognizing faces, and basically because of that you can use for example artificial neural networks to recognize based on your brain activity what your brain is doing, what you are thinking about, what you are imagining, like what are your mental representations. So mental representations, those are simply a brain events of some sort, chemical, electrical. I believe that they've got like some, let's say, mathematical properties which we can capture, and now of course in artificial intelligence era, that mechanisms are probably copied in a high resolution manner. by physicists, by mathematicists, like math experts and programmers, and I believe that it can be copied in a great detail. That it can not only be copied but amplified, and that artificial intelligence is able to actually have the same, let's say, capabilities when it comes to imagination and creativity, but of course it can amplify it, extend it, and simply then we can probably speak about some super intelligence era. We are probably not there yet. Many experts is talking about it in a very different way. One sort of experts are like preaching that artificial intelligence is already self-conscious and more like smarter than many people. Others are claiming that it's bullshit and marketing and hype and so on. I am in the skeptic zone. Like I don't know simply what is going on there, because you can just read papers about how that kind of artificial intelligence systems are constructed, but as a person who is not a programmer or computer scientist, I don't know details. So I can eventually speak, exchange like messages on with chatbots, but it's very difficult on that basis to determine what is going on inside of that systems. I imagine that simply that's a those are systems which are building extremely complex mathematical representations of anything, and of course they are based on deep neural networks, but deep neural networks are creating like mathematical representations anyway, and that's why I claim that I think that simply what is going on in our brains is mathematical in nature. But at the same time, I must say that I don't believe that reality is mathematical. I don't believe in idealism. I just believe that self and what self contains is mathematical in nature, in that sense that it can be described by math and programming. To be precise, like brains are basically computing machines, and so it's more computational, let's say. But there is, I don't believe that quantum effects have any important influence in our cognition. I don't believe that there is anything cosmic involved. I don't believe that brains are like an antenna of some sort, and I don't believe that consciousness is coming from the outside of the brain. So I believe that just consciousness is an epiphenomenon of the activity of the brain. I am more in the club of Daniel Dennett, who claimed that consciousness is some sort of illusion. So yes, I believe that brains are, mental representations are more like movies, like 3D movies, and like stop motion animation is a good metaphor for what is going on in the brain, because it's simply a communication of the cells in your brain. That's just that communication of the large number of the cells in your brain. So mental representations is a communication of the large numbers of the brain cells. Okay, so that's about what are, in my opinion, mental representations, and what representationalism means. Representationalism is simply documenting that mental representations. It's a process of documenting that. Is a mental representation something you discover inside yourself, or something your mind builds freshly in the moment you decide to look? In the moment you decide to look. Okay, let's, because I'm not sure if I fully understand that question. Is a mental representation something you discover inside yourself, or something your mind built freshly in the moment you decide to look? Yes, so I believe that mental representations are constructive, that you are building them by deciding to build them. So you can uh, close your eyes and try to imagine, for example, room, and try to make make everything anew in that room. So you can first think about some kind of chair. You can think about details of that chair, and in in the process of deciding what you want to see, what you want to imagine, you are building that representations. And after chair, you are maybe we will decide to see a table, and so on and so on. So it's constructive in my opinion. Of course, representations can come from the outside world, and you can read a book, and someone will describe you some other pictures. But again, then word after word, you will be building that mental representation. If your sculptures makes an invisible mental image visible, does the visible version betray the original or complete it? Very good question, Clouds. Yes, I was talking about it before. I always believe that visible version of the mental representation is a betray of the original. It's never precisely that. The nature of my mental specifically my mental representation is difficult to describe. In one sense, is that's a clear picture. On the other hand, it's three-dimensional, so it's not like one picture but many, and it's not always extremely sharp. So, and yeah, so, but the more time you spend building that mental representations and images depicting that mental representations, the more accurate that drawings are, and designs are. Can a sculpture ever be a true document of a mental state, or is it always already at a translation? So yeah, and if so, what is lost in the translation? Great questions. Yeah, so for example, in imagination you can make sculpture from any type of material. For example, in my case, I imagine transparent objects, and let's say I imagine it that it's possible to make it as a plastic or glass sculptures, but as a 3D print of some sort, and they are doing that kind of stuff already. But you can imagine much more than you can make, especially as a poor artist. So you have to translate it as a in an act of making a drawing. You are making the act of translation, and basically you can lost a lot. Then people can accuse you of like being maneric, like that it's a manierism to make drawings always in the same way. Or for me it completely doesn't matter how you like draw something. It's more about what you are drawing and what are original intentions. So for someone it can be nasty maneric comic like drawing. For me it's simply a plan, a design. So I don't care so much about how it's documented. So it's more like symbols, more like language, more like words or letters. But the only person actually who can know how original representation look like, it's me. And I'm not claiming that it's very original. It's the same as abstract artists. What abstract artists are doing, what surrealists are doing, those are just different names for the same. And they were also making mental representations visible. Some people are calling it dreams. Some people are calling it imagination. It doesn't matter. Do you think your brain holds one stable image that you then sculpt, or does the image keep changing as you work so that you are always chasing something that moves? Yes, so it depends. When I was drawing block number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I think starting from drawing block number 3, I disciplined myself and I decided that I'll be documenting one stable image which I constructed in my mind, and I will do my best to present it precisely as I imagined that. But later, when I stopped doing drawing blocks, I started, and when my time was limited, because when I was drawing blocks number 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, I had a lot of time. I could spend time just mind wandering and constructing like mental representations. So I could lay in a bed for 3 hours and imagine stuff, and basically I was doing that obsessively until I satisfied myself with mental image 3D representation, and then I was documenting that mental representation. But for example, now I'm making more improvised drawings, so then it's more representation which is changing itself, and basically which I'm constructing sometimes on the fly, simply during the process. And I am like, it's a discussion if improvisation is better than composition, and I consider mental representation as a composition where you spend like a lot of time constructing image, and then I am like fully satisfied. Improvisation is simply more randomness allowed, and you are surprised by the results. Philosophers argue that all perceptions is already a kind of representation, that we never touch reality directly. Does your art agree with this, or does it push back against it? Oh, I agree with philosophers, yes. We are not seeing reality as it is. We are seeing reality as our brains are allowing us to understand it. So our brains are constantly, even if we think that we see reality directly, we are seeing an interpretation which our brain is constructing. The best examples, those are colors, which exist only in our brains. So red, pink, that kind of colors exist only in our brains, only for our species, maybe. Of course, like, but I'm just saying that a different kind of animals are seeing reality differently. So yeah, reality as we see it, it's a kind of mind model, complex representation, multi like there is plenty of elements of that model, and basically it's not that it's the same as imagination, because in order to like imagine, you can imagine anything, but you can't like see anything in a object which is outside of our brain. So it's just a partly constructed representation, and partly is coming from the outside world. Does your art agree with this, or does it push back against it? I'm like so there is one aspect of my art. When I was making transparent objects, I am making transparent objects, sculptures. For me, the fact that it's transparent has some symbolic meaning, and the meaning is that we are simply like a filters. Brains are simply digesting information. So you are, for example, getting photons into your retina. From retina is going to occipital lobe. From occipital lobe is traveling to your frontal lobe. You are acting, making decisions, and you are like, you can imagine, you can digest that information. So that's like a prism for me. So it's simply information which is traveling, like physical information, a signal which is traveling through some physical objects, and it's simply changing its properties. So, and as we know, brains are simply extremely connected, like cells which with each other. Like, so we've got like, we can describe self as a connectome. So it's a connectome, it's like a diagram which is showing how cells in your brain are connected, and weights of that connections, they are building your inner world, basically, in theory, at least. Of course, details are much more complex, but in theory, it's basically about connectome. So yes, brains are like prisms, which are digesting information from the outside world, signals from the outside world, uh, digesting information in a, let's say, ordered fashion, ordered manner. So those are some algorithms, some mathematical, let's say, processes, organized processes, physical processes, computational processes. So it's all like it's all virtual. Yourself is virtual. Representation of the outside world is virtual. When the sculpture is finished and you look at it, are you looking at your own mind from the outside? And does that feel strange? Yes, sometimes it feels strange because that's something very close to you, like it's very personal. So I love that feeling that what I've got in my brain I can create in reality. It's simply pure freedom and joy because you really feel that you are able to do a lot, even if on everyday basis you can feel extremely stupid with some tasks and life situations. The fact that you can imagine something and make it in reality, even if it's simple, makes you feel amazing. And I think that's very, like, I don't like that word, but you can say that it's therapeutical. But yeah, the fact that you can imagine anything and depict that, it's simply creating your own world, and it makes you feel powerful, I would say. Your own mind from the outside. Yes, that's a, yeah. The I spoke about it about it in previous snapshot of the mind. Art practice is allowing you to have a lot of insight, just because of that. That your mental representations are on the paper suddenly, and you can judge them, you can change them, you can manipulate with that, and that's why like developments, like evolution of language changed the human species, because we could like exchange information. Some other people could basically check what we are thinking, what kind of stuff we are imagining, like what kind of mental representations are in our heads. And because of that exchange, of course, the science programs emerged, because we can be critical towards not only our own mental representations, but someone's mental representations. And of course, it's not only about mental representations as such, but about a whole lot of stuff like processes, where mental representations are like basically representing like whole physics of our world. So we can create physics of the outside world. And could your artworks exist without you? That is, does the representation survive its creator, or does it die when your memory of making it fades? Perfect question. Yes, of course, like mental representation is disappearing completely, but you can have a shadow of it. It's like you can make a photo of the tree, but after 100 years, that tree can be cutted and changed into a wooden table, and thus mental that's is that tree still does that tree still exist? No, that tree doesn't exist anymore, but you've got great documentation of that tree. uh, um, but like if you document a lot of representations, the process of constructing representations, you can later imitate the process of constructing of that representation and representations. You can simulate, so you can make like a machine which is basically making imitations of your mental representations. I believe that it's possible. So artificial intelligence projects basically. So in that sense, I believe that representations can survive, because representations has mathematical properties which can be saved, and they are substrate independent. But it doesn't mean that I believe that I am substrate independent, and I don't believe in soul as such. I believe that we, as a illusion, like a virtual machine which is running on biological computer, which is our brain, we can like run that to some extent in a similar fashion on some other machine, but it will be not identical. Identical it can be only if it's like the same substrate, so it's not fully substrate independent, like yeah, for now I would answer like that. So if connectome is copied, it doesn't mean that you survive your death. Because it's always subjective, like perspective, and basically you would have to like change neuron by neuron for the computer chip. Then you would not realize that you became a machine basically, and then you can say that you survived your death. But that's the only I think case when subjective self is surviving. But on the other hand, we can say that for an outside observer, you can survive your death, because for the outside viewer, it will be still the same person, even if it will be just copied algorithm in the machine, copied connectome, copied brain in the machine. Is there a difference between imagining something and representing it? And where does the difference lie in the brain, in the hand, or in the finished objects? Yeah, I mean, act of you imagining stuff is an act it's a process. It's always a process. And representation is in arts, it's simply 2D image which is stable. And it's just like that's why I'm calling, like, for example, that series Snapshot of the Mind. It's not, you would have to document your brain activity 24/7 to fully copy it, but we can only have like a like representation is just let's say documentation of some stage of the process of imagining something. So if you want to have like fully copied mental representations, you would have to have like a brain tissue in which the same processes are taking place as in your brain. That would be probably accurate, and it should be like the same kind of brain tissue as yours, maybe with your DNA or something. You work with transparent materials. Is transparency a metaphor, an attempt to make the mind itself see-through? Yes, exactly. So I described it just a few questions before. Yes, transparent materials. This is like a metaphor of brain which is digesting informations. So self, connectome, and that's a bunch of algorithms which our brains are generating. That's like a prism simply. What does it mean that your subjects are abstract? Are you representing things that have no shape in the real world, or things whose real shape is simply hidden? By abstract, I mean it doesn't exist in nature. Maybe I'm wrong with defining abstract like that. Maybe I don't understand fully that term abstract, but as far as I understand abstract is because abstract is a difficult word in general. Let's see what will Google say. Abstract meaning refers to something that exists as a concept or general idea rather than as a physical, tangible object. Yeah, so I'm documenting concepts. It's like theoretical. Those are ideas. Those are like representations. Those are like that's activity of your brain which has some mathematical properties. For example, you can you can imagine something which has like only certain proportions, like some parts are bigger, some parts are smaller, and they are in relationship, and that's physical mathematical properties, but those are abstract properties and imagined properties. So in that sense, that's a pure concept which is documented as a drawing. Is there a grammar to how your mental representations are structured? Rules your imaginations follows even when you are not aware of them. Exactly, I was writing about it on my website. This is like we are not aware of the structure of the language when we are speaking, and in the same manner we are not aware, I mean, we can be aware when we are working a lot with imagination, but we are making it spontaneously. So I think in that sense, brains are spontaneously mathematical, in that sense that simply imagination always function on some rules, because if you want to represent something, present something, it will be always rule based, and that rules, that's the grammar. Like the fact that for example objects has contours, and you know that that contours are showing that walls of the objects or limits of the objects. That's a form of a language. You have to know that, you have to intuitively know that that's the case. And it's again like something characteristic for our species, let's say. So yes, I believe that there is like a hidden grammar of imagination. But of course, like as with math, like there are some rules of that, but you can't say that there are any limits to that play. You can simply construct and construct and construct and play with that as long as you've got energy and time to do it. You can do it. When a viewer looks at your work and sees something completely different from what you intended, has the representation failed or succeed in a new way? Yeah, I talked about it a few times before. So the viewer can't verify if I am correct in showing my mental representations. The only person who has access to my mental representations, it's me. That's why it's subjective, that's why it's called me, and that's why you actually can't verify that. If I would make a representation of something from the outside world, it's different story. But then, even if I will not make it recognizable for someone, maybe it's because my brain is seeing it like that, and your brain is seeing it differently, and in that sense, it will be not failed representation. It's like Van Gogh saw the world in way he saw, and of course it was art, so it was like style of some sort, and simply that was the poetry of that era, to present things in that kind of colors and so on, and it was considered modern and new. It was that neomania. But did Van Gogh failed painting people in the way he painted? I don't think so. He just saw it like that, and by saw it, I mean he was interpreting it like that. He consciously chose to present them like in that way. But I would say that artists are always succeeding in presenting how they are seeing the world. It's not that they are succeeding in being objective. If they are objective, they are then scientists, or because like it's like all that realistic Flamand paintings and so on. the more realistic they were, the more they were like technical engineers. They were like using tricks, measurements, and in that sense, they were not dealing with representations so much of their own mind, but with math and uh, tricks and methods to present things as they are in the outside world. It's like photography is more objective than artists, but because like the process is more physical and more there's less of that mental states in the way of that representation. So it's like you know what I mean. Simply, photography is a physical process. There is no mind involved, so there is no distortions and false views. Is the goal of representationalists to produce accurate documents or beautiful ones? And what happens when accuracy and beauty conflict? I love that questions. Cloud already like is a better philosopher than ChatGPT for me. Yeah, the main goal of representationalism is to document that representations, to show that they existed, that they exist. So it's more about pure information. I would love to make them beautiful as well and attractive to other people, but it's not always the case that that what is interesting and cool representations for me will be like that for other people. So many people don't like my art at all, and that's fine for me. I'm not trying to convince anyone, everyone, and I'm not trying to make things beautiful. Making beauty is a different thing. That's not my goal. I'm into accurate documents, and when it comes to imagined worlds, I'm into simply interesting, complex representations. Complex from my point of view. For some mathematician, my world can be extremely trivial and simple. For some computer program, it also can be quite trivial, simple. Because the algorithm of constructing them for a machine, it will be like a silly game, simply. Could a smell, and of course, like I'm aware of that, and and I'm trying to change like algorithms and be more creative. Although it's difficult to change algorithms which you are using for constructing your mental representations. Sometimes you don't see a value in some kind of representations, even if they are maybe more complex. I don't know. No. Could a smell, a sound, or an emotion be better represented by your sculptures than a visible image can? Have you tried? Can a smell, a sound, or an emotion be better represented by your sculptures than a visible image can? Have you tried? I don't think you can really capture smell, a sound, or an emotion, because it's you can think that it's an intersubjective, but I don't think we are the same. So I for example, I believe that I am autistic, and I'll be not as a neurodivergent person. I will be not thinking and having the same thinking in the same way as average person, or having the same emotions as average person. For sure, I will smell differently. For example, I had COVID-19. My smell is impaired. As a neurodivergent person, I perceive sounds differently. I've got very sensitive ears. I can't sleep even if there is very subtle noise, and so on. So everyone is different. Everyone's nervous system is different, and so on. So in that sense, what I'm trying to document with eventually making 3D models of the sculpture is simply making something which contains like relationships which are of objects, of proportions, which can be attracted for someone. They are attracted for me, attractive for me, cool for me, interesting for me. And if for someone there is some pleasure in that, that's cool, but it doesn't have to be like that. Okay, neuroscientists say the brain does not store memories like photographs. It reconstructs them each time. Does that mean every artwork is reconstruction or of a reconstruction? It's not a reconstruction of reconstruction. It's a reconstruction, just one time. So yeah, memories are. In my case, memories are very close to photographs. I would say I've got very good memory to, I would say, spatial relationship. I know where things were at the moment when something happens, and I remember, for example, I remember very well which movies I saw, although I don't remember about what that movies were. So I don't remember stories so much. I remember better pictures. But yes, memories, those are reconstructions, and there is a theory that every time you repeat some memory, you are actually making some small changes in that, and you are interpreting that history. And obviously, with time, you are changing and you are perceiving all your past events of your life in a different way. You are always interpreting in different way. 10 years ago, you would ask me about some conversation with a friend. I would interpret it differently than now, because I know more. Although I would think that that conversation had particular informations there, containing some particular information. Is your work more like a map which simplifies to guide, or a mirror which reflects without judging? It's a map, it's a mirror as well. It's more like a map because of some sort, because it's a map of also values, That's because I've got more mental representations than what I'm showing. If I am showing something, it's because it's chosen from many representations. So so it's a map, for example, of my values, aesthetical values, of course, and it's again something about, let's say, mathematical ideal proportions and so on. Um, but I'm using that word math very loosely. I don't think about math. I'm very bad at math, actually. I'm probably, I've got some type of dyscalculia or dyslexia or whatever. But when it comes to, for example, trigonometry and Euler's equations, I think I understand them quite well, because it's easy to imagine that stuff. In the same way, I love physics, and basically physics seems, beside math, quite easy for me. What would a failed representation look like in your practice? And have you ever made one? Yes, so for example, if I am making a drawing where I imagine smooth surface of an object as a smooth glossy glass object, and of course, like, I'm not trying to make it draw it precisely as I imagine, because it's a waste of time for me to make it precisely like that, because I can obviously take a glass object and observe how it reflects light, and we can try to depict that in that way. But what for doing that if I can just make it symbolically and everyone will understand what it means? So, but you can be you can make a failure in that sense that you will make it too simple and nobody will understand how it should look like as a finished like product. And I've got plenty of that kind of mistakes, that I've got good idea but it's presented in a filthy, not precise fashion. Do you think the act of representing something changes the thing being represented? The way observing a particle in physics changes its behavior? No, I think like the act of representing something, it's making it even more real, because in your brain it's ephemeral, it's short, it's lasts for a very short period of time, and it's disappearing very fast. When you are making a drawing for 3 hours or 4, it's like making it like concrete, very real. So in that sense, the act of observation is making it more real. We can use a metaphor of quantum physics. So let's say, and I'm not into quantum psychology or anything like that, but on a everyday basis, representations are like in superposition, let's say. But if you are deciding to imagine something specific, you're like making an act of observation and measurement, and then you will find your imagination in one particular place. So it's like that diffusion algorithms, basically, that's from that randomness you are choosing particular shapes. From that superposition you are choosing one particular shape. So you've got collapse of the wave function, or you can say, and then you've got particular event, particular objects. So the act of representing, it's a collapse of the wave function, let's say, but it's a metaphor. I don't like too much like all that masturbation with quantum physics. I think in brain is very concrete all the time. If someone could scan your brain while you worked and produce a perfect neural readout, would that readout be more or less true than your sculpture? That's a great question. Yes, of course, I imagine many times that it happening, that some neuroscientist is scanning my brain, and during the process of imagining some objects, and no, like it's like, of course, if you would record just an activity of the brain, it's nothing for a viewer without an interpretation. It's like when you are seeing a brain scan, you are not seeing a self of some person. If you would run some simulation based on that brain scan, you would be closer to making a simulation of the self, but still it would be very different than speaking with that person, than letting that person to make an artwork and so on. So brain scan on its own, it's not constructing a symbolic, meaningful language representation. And drawing, basically, it's a language of some sort, so symbolic language, let's say. We know how to interpret lines and shadows and so on. Okay, that was part with the title The Nature of Representation. Very cool questions. The next part of the questions, it's the creative algorithm, and again, perfect timing. It's again, as in the case of ChatGPT, and as in the case of Cloud, both of that chatbots are predicting how long it will take to answer that chapters of questions, and it's perfect, it's very smart, it's very cool. So as usually, that video lasted for 1 hour 20 around, and that's usually the case with my live videos. I will save that live video, and I'll later post a snapshot of the mind with description, date, video from made with different camera from different angle. Anyway, thank you for anyone who will listen to that weird stories in the future. Thanks. Cheers. Oh, come on.